Hey everybody, this is Aaron the Pedantic. Today I wanted to talk about this game here, Strange Tales of Songling. So it is a horror RPG. It is, as it says, inspired by Chinese ghost stories. Today's format is mostly going to be kind of a flip through and me kind of riffing on my thoughts about it. So it's not going to be the overwhelmingly detailed review. That's going to come later, and it's probably going to be on the PDF. Due to the fact that I'm still working out the kinks of having a like really high quality like desk viewing situation. It tends to drown out the light on the pages with most of the setups I do. So like right now it's going to be a little shaky because I'm actually holding it. But so in any case, as you can see, the art is really cool. There's a lot of really quality black and white works in here. And I have to say though, the quality of the book seems to be very good. The copy that I got must have gotten tossed in the mail a little bit because it's kind of like bent in the middle. But that's not really a reflection of the. See, you can kind of see here, but it's not really a reflection of the book itself. So this is by Bedrock Games. The layout is completely functional. It definitely does the job. One of the things that should be noted is this is not an OSR work. A lot of times I spend most of my time talking about OSR works, and this is actually a dice pool game. So this is something I'm not new to, but it's something that I don't typically delve into that frequently. Another thing to kind of note here is it's very rules light. By the time you get to page, let's see. So by the time you get to page 43, you're delving into just like monster descriptions, and the descriptions are more than just stats here. The descriptions are trying to incorporate the horror elements from the films, and like try and basically help you come up with monster of the week scenarios. This is kind of what the system is built for primarily, is the kind of monster of the week dynamic. However, there is a lot of attention that is paid to trying to make everything more amenable to a more open campaign environment. It's very versatile in the way that it's written, and I do really appreciate that. So the big mechanics that you kind of need to know for this system is, like I said, it's a dice pool game. You use D10s, but most of the time you're going to be rolling anywhere between 1 and 5 at the most. Is kind of what I've gotten from this. And of course, because it's a dice pool game, you roll all of these die, and you go with the highest result that you get. You're not adding or anything like that. And it's an interesting setup. So you roll to you do that whenever you are attacking, whenever you are defending, all that kind of shit. And so there's constantly contests going on. It's very neat. It's very neat. I also like, so here you see max wounds. So there are really basic characters can only be hit like twice before they're starting to die. So it's a pretty brutal system, but I think that is really just to further encourage the horror type play. You don't want this to feel like D&D, really. You want this to feel like, well, we're in this really dangerous situation. Like, let's try and be smart about this kind of thing. And it's something that I'm really appreciating as someone who kind of has a bent towards old school play. You don't really go into things expecting balanced encounters or anything like that. So character creation is incredibly simple. You are not going to be spending a great period of time customizing characters. As you can see, like, the classes are very streamlined. They do have a leveling up system, and they have like built-in stats for the class. There are some rules on basically making them more accessible to like tougher play, I guess, or more action-oriented play. So you have 4 classes here. You have the Demon Hunter, which is basically someone who is going to be using Kung Fu and magic. You have the Ritual Master. So rituals are very interesting because they actually allow you to interact with things that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. Like, you can use a ritual. So these are going to be like more long-term things. I mean, most of us are familiar with the concept of a ritual. It's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to do things that, you know, the Demon Hunter with their magic abilities just can't do, because they're going to be a lot of times more powerful or utility kinds of magic. I do love the flavor in all of this. So once we actually get into the kung fu abilities and the magic and all of that, like, a lot of care was put into making things feel on point, you know, for it, which is one of the reasons why I think it's very important to suggest that people don't just reskin necessarily whenever they're trying to play a game and they want to go with something a little bit out of genre, because of the fact that a lot of things could be done better. It's one of those careful balancing acts you have to do, because of I'm getting on a whole tangent. Let me not do that right now. All right, so you have a scholar. The scholar knows stuff, so they are going to be very skillful. They are going to be able to escape a lot better than other people, so they're probably the one that's more likely to survive. And then you have the Wandering Sword. The Wandering Sword is your melee fighter, obviously, and they get tons of kung fu. They get better dodges. They can block. They can evade. Well, they get everyone can evade, but they get to use a dodge ability. So yeah, it's interesting. Now, what really is interesting about a lot of this is that because of the fact that you're dealing with creatures from Chinese ghost stories and things like that, a lot of times they are not going to be affected by mundane weaponry. So there is a symbiotic relationship between the character classes where they kind of feed into each other. Either you're going to need to use a scholar to try and figure out more about the thing that you're up against, so that they can try and come up with whatever the mundane kind of solution is, or you're going to need, like, the ritualist to do something to your weapon, or you're going to need the demon hunter to just, like, basically use talismans that burn their skin off and shit like that. So one of the things that I really love about it is the simplicity of the system. You get to focus a lot more on just trying to, make interesting things happen. You really don't want to get, like, too, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to go too crazy with mechanics in a horror game, typically, because of the fact that you want to be focused in on the moment. And this does this really well. At the same time, the dice pool never gets so big that I think it's going to be kind of silly, because ultimately, if you roll a 10, then you get a total success, which basically means that you're going to be a lot more effective. So if you're dealing damage and you roll a 10, then you're going to do 2 wounds, so it's twice as potent. So there is a lot of need for them to kind of keep that in check. You're not really going to be dealing with like the 5-die roll unless you're dealing with high-level players for the most, or player characters rather. So a lot of stuff is kind of pushed towards the later end of the game as far as being a lot more powerful, but at the same time, it never really seems to get to the point where they're absurdly powerful, anything like that. So the way this is just on the way the defenses look, would like to again just highlight. See, this is the kind of I forgot to look who the artist is on this, but they have a very interesting style that I really appreciate. It's very almost comic book like in a way, but like high quality black and white. with like it's very stylistic is kind of what I'm trying to get at, and I really appreciate it. It's not like it's definitely not digital art, which, well, actually, I guess I'm not like an art guy, so it could be, but I don't think it is. It looks uh like it's, I don't know, it's just, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. So you have different kinds of defenses. This is because of the fact that there are going to be things that are going to use your wits against you. So you actually have like you have like hardy. Hold on, forget the word as I'm speaking. So you have wits, you have evade, and you have hardiness. Okay, yeah, I was almost there. I was half of the way there, but I was like, I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So whenever you're trying to not get hit, that's whenever your evade comes in. Whenever you are hit, then your hardiness is rolled versus the damage to see if you sustain a wound. Very, very simple stuff. And then wits, you basically are losing. Like if you're taking wit damage, is bad times. You're basically either, if you're sustaining a lot of damage in any capacity, you're either going to probably die from some kind of evisceration or some kind of horrible way of going out, or you're going to suffer tremendous psychological damage, a la Call of Cthulhu kind of thing. Although it doesn't go like into great detail on like what kinds of things might happen there. I think that it's more oriented towards like what the creature does. But anyway, so here we have path powers. This is one of the parts where things start to get a little bit more customizable. You saw that on the character class page. You see that there are, basically it'll say you get one kung fu technique, and then so you can basically look around on here and be like, all right, well, this is kind of the one I want. They all have like their different utilities. It is a level of customization that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. But it doesn't get so all up in its own asshole that you have people like, well, I need to take this and this and this and this so that I'm always going to be the toughest kind of thing. They each have their own drawbacks that I really appreciate. So this is kind of I was skipping the magic techniques. The magic techniques are really cool. I mean, like I said, this is kind of like a basic flip through, but they have a lot of flavor involved. So, like for instance, the exploding talisman. You throw a paper talisman at the head of any supernatural creature, causing it to burst into flames. It does extra damage on Jiangxi, which are the, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, but those are the hopping vampires, which are really cool. Like, I didn't know that was a thing I needed in my life, but it is now. So, since and Jiangxi are very included, and there's a lot of fox demons as well. Just the kinds of things that you would find there. The ritualist has a lot of really cool stuff that they can do. They can make fake money. They can basically like roast pigs that come to life and murder everybody. There's just a lot of really cool shit in here. It's, as you can see though, like that was only just a few pages. I believe that there's a passage that explicitly says, feel free to make more. And, I do definitely appreciate that. The equipment section is really neat. It has a lot of things that, again, it just, clearly the writer really knows what they're talking about with this genre. Like there seems to have been a great deal of research, which I'm really happy about. There's, it could have very well been that it was just kind of like, well, I kind of know how things are. I'm just gonna riff on it. And if that's something that they did, then holy shit, they did a good job of tricking me. But in any case, they are very. They are things that I have seen throughout the the media, like it seems to be a faithful representation, while also being just very cool and fun. A lot of these things are. So now you get into like the whole running the adventure section. So it really basically says you can do this all kinds of different ways. I really think that when I run this, I'm going to go with the Monster of the Week dynamic with perhaps a little bit, actually, that's actually the way that they suppose it, is basically a situation where you just, it kind of reminds me of Supernatural, if you ever watched that show, where basically they go off to investigate something because something bad is happening. You get there, you interview the people, and, like you get to the big showdown at the end, and then everything is resolved. You move forward. I think that is a fantastic way of doing this. You have like some kind of like housekeeping measures that can be done either before the session or after the session that kind of says, all right, these are the things that you're going to do in between, and that way you can have kind of like an evolving campaign narrative. There are a lot of other really cool ideas in here. The maps are as you can see, very stylistic, beautiful to look at. Like one of the map makers I really love is Doug Kovacs with Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I feel like if Doug Kovacs was doing kind of like Eastern style art with his maps, like this is kind of where it would go, so that's high praise coming from me because I love Doug Kovacs' work. Let's see. So it recommends sandbox, escape from hell scenarios. So there's a very dreamy quality to the way that it's being presented. In fact, one of the things that I was thinking about was basically having a campaign where your characters are actually like regular people in kind of a mundane world, kind of doing a persona approach. And then whenever the session picks up and they're doing the big thing, actually, I would probably spend some time in the mundane as well, so that there can be like kind of a feedback loop. Basically, the stuff that's going on in the dream world, which would be what they experience here, is stuff that is like affecting the real world, and then so they solve the dream world problem, and then the real world problem gets better. I think that would be really cool. There's just a lot of really neat ways that you could go about this. And I really don't know where I want to start first, but there are a lot of different ways that I want to do it. There's basically like an appendix N here. And I find that it seems to show that, this is a very well-researched work here. There's a lot of attention to detail there. The monster section is awesome. Like, I would definitely so these are very basic people, but once you get past that, once you get into the demons and all that, you get a lot of really awesome creatures that I just want to rip and put into other games, if at all possible. But I feel like this is the best conduit for what they are, because of the fact that, again, it is horror themed, and all of that is going to play out. They're not all just bad. There are some things here where you have a dragon of good fortune. There's a few other ones where it's like they can do good things for you, or they might do bad things, and a lot of them might want to have sex with your character just because of like the kinds of ghosts and spirits that you deal with, especially like fox spirits and stuff like that. So there's the Jiangxi hopping vampire, as I was talking about earlier. Now, this is something I greatly respect, is that for people like myself who have not really run this kind of game before, you have example adventures. So they are well detailed, I would say. I mean, they have very detailed maps with, location descriptions, NPCs with quite a bit going on. They're well written. It sounds like really cool stuff. I'm actually interested in running, just kind of the ones as they're written. which is not always the case with intro adventures. You know, they tend to be very hit or miss, especially whenever they're included in the book. You know, most of the book here, as you can see, well, not most, a healthy portion of the book is actually just more of this. So, like, basically, you know, for people that don't really know how they need to set up these kinds of adventures, it gives that to you. And it gives you a model that you can go by, or you can just simply use your own. I really appreciate that. I think that that is something that is necessary for this kind of thing, and I'm glad that it was included. So even though it is a rules-light game, you are getting a lot of bang for your buck. The book itself, I believe, is like $25 for the soft cover, and it is... I would say it's very worthwhile. It's one of those things, you have to be interested in the genre. But if you are, then holy shit. You know, I mean, this is a no-brainer. So that's really it for now, I suppose. Again, very, very cool maps. I don't think there's anything else for me to do with this. But if you enjoyed this... like, share, comment, you know, let me know what you think. If you are interested in this, as I said, I'm going to do a more detailed synopsis in time. It's just a matter of getting people to play the system with. And right now things are a little bit busy for me. But I plan on trying to run this and giving a more informed opinion. But as it stands, I learned a lot from this.